Welcome to PJ Maybe's YouTube channel. I'm going to do a magic deck and I'm going to do one of my favourites. It's a very slow deck, but it is one of the most powerful ones I have. And I'll be looking for any advice on how to make it better. It is the Ur Dragon. The Ur Dragon has got the Eminence ability. It's a 10/10 for 5 colours and 4 colourless. The Eminence ability, basically when it's in the command zone or on the battlefield, other dragon spells cost 1 less to cast. And whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards. Then you can put a permanent card from your hand into the battlefield. When he's on the field, he's great. Basically, anytime you attack with 2, 3, 4, you're drawing, it's card draw. And also allows you to put something else big on the field. With a lot of the dragons I've got, they've all got extra abilities as well, so that could actually be quite powerful. So we'll look at the dragons I've got, and you'll need to let me go on some of the pronunciations, because some of these dragons, the pronunciations I'm terrible at. We'll start with my legendary dragons, and I've got a number of these legendaries. So you've got Okagrish, the Revengeful Kami. It's a legendary for 5 colours and a colourless. So even with the Ur Dragon out, it's still going to cost me the 5 anyway. It's got flying and trample. It's a 6/6, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, if that player has already attacked me during his or her turn, I exile a non-permanent that player controls. So if I can get him on the board, he can do damage, and if he does the damage, I can get rid of something big. Sol Ring probably, or something else that does their mana ramp. Next one is the Scion of the Ur Dragon. 5 colours, so this is never going to get a boost for the Ur Dragon being on board, but it's got flying, and for 2 colourless I can search my library for another dragon, put that on in the graveyard, and the Scion becomes a copy of it until the end of turn. So it allows me to dig out for some of my more powerful cards and put them on temporarily. I've got nothing that actually gives me anything back from my graveyard, so once they're in there, they're gone. Next one is Latlish, the Dragon Queen. 6/6 for 2 red and 4 colourless. And whenever another dragon enters the battlefield under my control, I can create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. And for 1 and a colourless, dragons you control get a +1/+0 until the end of turn. Allows me to double up. So for 6, I get a 6/6 and a 5/5 dragon coming on board. Restora, the Kurubar Queen. It's a cat dragon. It's a 5/4 for 3 colours, black, red and green, and 2 colourless. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature, and if they can't, I can get a 3/3 black, red, green cat dragon token with flying. So does damage and gets rid of permanents. If it doesn't, at least I get a boost. And I'm going to stop actually naming them. You can read them because my pronunciation of these are terrible. This one, Vorosh the Hunter. Flying, whenever Vorosh the Hunter deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 3, which is 2 colourless and a green, and if you do, you can put another 6 +1/+1s. It's a 6/6 to start with for 6 mana, and I can double it up for an extra 3 mana every time it does damage. I'm going to try some of these pronunciation, but if I can't, you'll have to bear with me. Ryushi, the Fallen Star. When it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. 90% of this deck is dragons. I've got other ones that are non-flyers, but they're just for boosts and such like. You'll see them later on. Then you've got a card draw, which is Niv Mizzet, the Firemind. It's flying, and whenever I draw a card, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player, and for tapping it, I can draw a card. So basically, it's just card draw. And I've got 3 more, which are the Dragon Lords. So you've got Dragon Lord Atarka. It's flying and trample, and it's an 8/8 for 5, which is red and a green and 5 colourless. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage divided as you choose among number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control. It doesn't do damage directly to the player, but it does to the creatures, and I can divide it up. And Dragon Lord Kolaghan, it's for 6, which is a black, red and 4 colourless. It gives me a 6/5 flyer and haste, and it also gives all my other creatures haste. It's got other text, but considering this is played in Commander, the other text means nothing, because it says whenever an opponent casts a creature or planeswalker spell with the same name as a card in his or her graveyard, that player loses 10 life. Unless you're playing some of these decks which are very specific that you can have multiples, then it's basically it's useless. And the last Dragon Lord is Dromoka. It's for 6, which is green, white and 4 colourless. It gives you a 5/7, and it can't be countered. It's got flying and lifelink, and your opponents can't cast spells during your turn when he's out. All handy. We'll look at now the standard dragon creatures. We've got Pre-Caesar Dragon. It's got flying and it's got Devour. It's a 6 mana, 2 red and 4 colourless for a 4/4. But the Devour is when this creature enters the battlefield with twice as many +1/+1 counters that you Devour. And when it attacks, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of 1/1 counters on it. I've got a lot of spells that give me goblins, and I'm expecting to put a lot of goblins out just for this Devour. The goblins are only there for when this one and the other one with Devour comes out. I've only got 2 spells which use the Devour, and here's the other one, Vrashik Dragon. It's a 5 mana, 2 red, 3 colourless for a 4/4, and it's got the Devour, and this creature enters the battlefield with 1/1 counters equal to the number of creatures you sacrifice. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to twice the number of goblins it devours. Hence the reason why I'm using goblins for the spells for Devour. Backdraft Hellkite. It's a 5 mana, 2 red, 3 colourless for a 4/4 flyer. And whenever it attacks, each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard gain flashback until the end of turn. This flashback cost is equal to its mana cost, so it allows me to cast things as sorceries, and I've only going to have sorceries, I've no instants at all from my graveyard, so it allows me to boost, because most of the sorcery spells are just to give me extra creatures. Scale Lord Reckoner. It's 5 mana, 2 white and 3 colourless for a 4/4 flyer. And whenever a dragon I control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, destroy target non-land permanent that player controls. So anybody's trying to target it, it allows me to actually deal with them. Another white one, which is Ward Scale Dragon, which is for 6, which is 2 white and 4 colourless. It gives me another 4/4 flyer. But as long as it's attacking, defending players can't cast spells. So as soon as it attacks, then I'm safe from removal spells. Sunscorch Regent, which is a 5 mana, 2 white and 3 colourless for a 4/3 flyer. But whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and I gain 1 life. So basically it's ramp for whenever my opponents cast spells, even if they're not against myself. They can cast spells for themselves. I get a ramp. Broodmate Dragon for 6 mana, a black, a red and a green and 3 colourless. Gives me a 4/4 flyer. But when he enters the battlefield, it creates a 4/4 red dragon token with flying. So it gives me double. So it gives me 2 4/4 dragons. Utvara Hellkite. It's 8 mana, which is 2 red, 6 colourless for a 6/6 flyer. But whenever a dragon you control attacks, I create another dragon. So if I attack with 2/3 dragons, get 2/3 6/6 tokens, which is ideal. Thunderbreak Regent. It's 4 mana, 2 red, 2 colourless for a 4/4. And whenever a dragon I control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, it does 3 damage to that player. Gives me a wee bit of protection. Aquarium Hellkite. 6 mana, 2 red, 4 colourless for a 4/4 flyer, and it's also got landfall. So whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And if that land's a mountain, it does 2 damage to that creature or player. I've only got 4 mountains. The rest of most of my lands in this deck are all tap lands and such like, or dual lands or tri-lands. There's very few plain lands and I've only got 4 mountains, so I don't expect to do a lot of damage. However, gets rid of wee chump blockers if required. Demanding Dragon, which is 5 mana, 2 red, 3 colourless for a 5/5 flyer. And when he enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to an opponent unless that player sacrifices a creature. Wee bit of boost, gets rid of something. Scourge of Valkyrus. It's a 5 mana, 3 red, 2 colourless for a 4/4. And when it or another dragon enters the battlefield under my control, it deals X damage to target creature or player where X is the number of dragons you control. Later on in the game that could be quite handy. Shockmaw Dragon. It's 6 mana, 4/4, and it's 2 red, 4 colourless. And when it deals combat damage to a player, it deals 1 damage to each creature that player controls. Ideal for going against somebody with a lot of chump blockers. Volcanic Dragon. It's a 6 mana, 4/4, and it's 2 red, 4 colourless. It's flying and haste. So it allows me to put it on and attack straight off. Nothing else special. Hellkite Overlord. It is an 8 mana, 8/8. It's red, 2 reds, a black and a green and 4 colourless. It's got flying, trample and haste. So that coming on does a lot of damage and doesn't matter about the chump blockers. It's for 1 red. It also gets a +1/+0 until the end of turn. And for a green and a black, I can regenerate it. So nice one later on in the game. Swift Warkite. It is a 6 mana, 4/4. It's 4 colourless, a black and a red. It's when it enters the battlefield, you may put a creature card with a converted mana of 3 or less from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste, and then I return it to my hand at the beginning of the next end step. Ideal if I've got something in the graveyard I want back, put it on, then bring it back out. I can cast it again. Savage Ventmaw is a 6 mana, 4/4. It's 4 colourless, a red and a green. Flyer. Whenever Savage Ventmaw attacks, I can add 3 red and 3 green mana to my mana pool until the end of turn. It says this mana doesn't empty from your mana pool at the end step or phase ends. I understand that is just until the end of turn I've got the extra mana to play with. And that was the last of the dragons. I'm now looking at my other creatures. Dragon Lord Servant, it's a Goblin Shaman, and it's a 2 mana, 1 red, 1 colourless for a 1/3. The power and toughness are unimportant. This is here just to give dragon spells cost 1 less to cast. With that and the Ur Dragon, I can get my dragons in for 2 mana less each turn, as long as she stays on the board. The next 3 are humans. Draconic Disciple, it's a human shaman, and for 3 mana it's a 2/2. It's a colourless red and green. That's unimportant. It's tap it for 1 mana of any colour to your thingy. That is just mana ramp. For 7 colourless I can sacrifice it and put a 5/5 dragon on the board, and I don't see me ever needing to do that. The other one is Dragon Master Outcast. For 1 red it gives me a 1/1, but at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, put a 5/5 dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. For 1 later on in the game, suddenly I can actually get a 5/5 every upkeep. Ideal. And the last one, Dragon Whisperer. Dragon Whisperer, human shaman for 2 red mana. It's a 2/2, but Dragon Whisperer gains flying until the end of turn, and it also for 1 mana, for 1 in a colourless and a red, it gets a +1/+0 to the end of turn. It's also got the Formidable. It's a 6 mana, 2 red, 4 colourless. I can put a red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. I can only activate this if I've got creatures with power 8 or greater. As you can see, even the ones that are not dragon are all dragon synergy. They're basically either boost my dragons or they deal with dragons. Right, that's my creatures. Now I'll look at my enchantments. Dragon Tempest. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until the end of turn. Basically gives all my dragons haste. And whenever a dragon enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to a target creature or player where X is the number of dragons you control. So put it on early, and anytime I put a dragon out, it does damage and it gets haste. Flame Shadow Conjuring. Whenever a non-token creature enters a battlefield under control, you may pay 1. If you do, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. That token gains haste, exile at the beginning of your end step. Ideal. Basically, anytime I put a dragon on, it basically doubles it up for that turn. Even if it doesn't have haste, I've not got my enchantment that gives them all haste, at least something can come on, attack, and away it goes. Warstorm Surge. 6 mana 1. Whenever a creature enters a battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Considering I'm actually hoping to get a lot of the bigger dragons out later on, this will actually give me the power to actually just get rid of some big creatures the opponents control. And you got Wartle. Whenever opponent taps a land for mana, tap all lands that player controls. This will be something that people will want to get rid of very quickly. Anytime you mess with other opponent's mana, you're a target. And if a creature an opponent controls attacks, all creature that opponent control attacks. So in effect, you tap 1 mana, it taps them all. 1 creature attacks, all of them attack. It basically forces your opponents to react. Then you've got Mirage Wake. This is basically doubling up all your mana. Creatures you control get a +1/+1, and whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool for any type of land that produces. So in effect, it just doubles my mana for each of my lands. Crucible of Fire. Dragon creatures get a +3/+3. In effect, just boosting all my dragons. And my last one is Street Riot. As long as it's your turn, creatures you control get a +1/+0 and have trample. Ideal if I'm using a lot of big creatures and my opponents have got chump blockers. This actually takes that out of their hand. Right, I'll look at my spells. Sorcery spells. The only known creature or goblin sorcery spell is Crux of Fate. Choose one. Destroy all dragon creatures, unlikely to ever use, or destroy all non-dragon creatures. If I've got that on the board, play it. It board wipes everything except myself. Then my goblins. Dragon fodder. Put two goblins on the board. Krenkel's command. It basically puts another 2 goblins on the board. Goblin gathering. This is a slightly more expensive than the last 2. It costs 3 mana because this is not really designed for commander, because you create number of goblins equal to 2 plus the number of cards called Goblin Gathering in your graveyard. Considering you're only stuck with 1, it's 2 goblins. It's only just to get me goblins. Then we've got Hordling Outburst. Put 3 goblins onto the battlefield. And then your final one is Goblin Rally. Puts 4 goblins onto the battlefield. So that they're basically just to give me wee chump blockers and sacrifice for my Devour tokens. Now we'll look at my artifacts. The artifacts, I've got a couple of really good ones. I've got a couple of legendary ones, so we'll start with the legendary ones. We've got the Immortal Sun. Players can't activate Planeswalker loyalty abilities, and at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card. Ideal when you've got Niv Mizzet out, and basically allows you to actually do 2 damage or whatever. And spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, so it basically allows me to cast spells for less. Gives all my creatures +1/+1, allows me to draw extra cards, and it stops Planeswalkers doing anything while it's out on the board. For 6 mana, lovely card. Most decks should have it. Then you've got God's Pharaoh Statue. Spells your opponent cast 2 more to cast, and at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. The 1 life part is not a major issue, but the spell that causing your opponents to cost 2 more, always a boost. Then my last legendary one is Azur's Gateway. It's card draw. For 1, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand. If cards with 5 or more different converted mana costs are exiled with Azur's Gateway, you gain 5 life. You untap it and transform it. And when you transform it, you're transforming it to the Sanction of the Sun. Add X mana of any 1 colour to your mana pool, where X is your life total. So you can imagine that it cost 2 mana to play, and considering a lot of my spells are multicolour and I eventually have all 5 mana out, it basically allows me to ramp my mana up. So I've got a lot of artifacts in this deck as well. Most of them are mana ramp. Chromatic Lantern. Lands you control have add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. So in effect it makes all my lands put in any colour I need. And I can tap it as well for add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. So it allows me to tap, and it also allows any of my lands to put any mana that I require out. Spinning Wheel. Add 1 mana of any colour, and I can for 5 mana I can tap a target creature. Then you've got Manalith. Just add 1 mana of any colour. Then you've got Command Sphere. Add 1 mana of any colour of your commander's identity, and considering the Ur Dragons all 5 colours, ideal. And if I wanted to, I can sacrifice it and draw a card. Don't see me ever needing to do that. We've got Mana Geode. Add 1 mana of any colour, but when it enters a battlefield I can scry. So it gives them a wee bit of look-see, but it's the mana. It's the main thing. And Urza's Incubator. Urza's Incubator enters a battlefield, choose a creature type. Dragon. And creature spells of a chosen type cost 2 less to cast. So I've got that out. I would if I had the Goblin card out and the Ur Dragon, in effect my Goblins can cost 4 less to cast. Always ideal with a heavy deck. standard ones for colourless mana, or this one is any one colour. So Gilded Lotus, tap it, add 3 mana of any one colour. Then you've got your Soul Ring. Everybody knows Soul Ring, 2 colourless mana. Then we have Navigator's Compass. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. That's nice. But until end of for tapping it, until end of turn, target land you control becomes a basic land type of your choice in addition to others. So it allows me to actually, if I've not got anything else out, it allows me to actually use the mana I require. Gruul Signet. For 1, it adds a red and a green. So basically it's double mana. It just gives me the right extra mana ramp. Then we've got Rakdos Signet. Similar idea, but this gives me black and a red. Then we're first Tricolour, which is Jessica Banner. Tap it, add a blue, red or white to your mana pool, and if I want to I can cast, I can sacrifice it and draw a card for a blue, red and white. The next few are mana ramp and they also dragon artifacts. So Silumar Monument, I can add a blue or a black to your mana pool for a tap, and if I sacrifice it and, well sorry, not sacrifice it, if I pay 4 colourless, a blue and a black, it becomes a 4/4 blue and black dragon artifact creature with flying until end of turn. Next one, same idea, it's the Ojati Monument. It's a blue and a white, but when you pay the 6 mana, you get a blue dragon artifact creature, a 4/4 blue dragon. Dromoka's Monument, similar idea. It's white and green, and for 4 and a white and a green, you get a 4/4 green and white dragon creature. Kolgaren Monument, similar idea. It gives you a black and red dragon for black and red and 4 colourless. And the last one of the similar type is the Atarke Monument. It's for red and green. For 4 red and green gives you a 4/4 green dragon artifact creature. The next one, to me, is the most important one for my dragon deck, which is a Dragon Arch. For 2, I can tap it and put a multicoloured creature card from my hand into play. So for 2, I could effectively put the Sign of the Dragon on in play for 2 mana. Ideal for the large dragon deck. That's all the main ones. In this one I got 34 lands. We'll start off with the Tricolours, Tryon. It gives you black, green or blue. It enters tapped, and it's also got cycle, but I don't use the cycle in this deck. Next one gives me blue, red or white. I'm not even going to pronounce these names, so they're all tri-lands. Next one gives me red, white or black. They all enter tapped. That's the thing, it's a slow deck because a lot of my lands enter tapped. The last tri-land gives me white, black or green. And now all my dual lands. Gruul's Turf enters tapped, and I have to return another land to my hand. Gives me 2 red and green. Rakdos Carnarium. Terrible with names, so it enters tapped and it gives me black and red, and I have to return another one. Haven of the Spirit Dragon. It gives me 1 colourless mana. I can add a mana of any colour if I want to spend it to cast a dragon spell, and for 2 I can sacrifice it and I can return a target creature card or planeswalker from the graveyard. It's the only one I've got that if I want to I can recover something from my graveyard. Don't see me using that unless it's really dire. Path of Ancestry. Tapped again, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any colour, of your commander's colour. When that is spent to cast a creature spell, I can scry as well. Guildmage Forum. It's a colourless mana, but for 1 mana I can actually, if I've not got the right mana I need, I can add 1 mana of any colour. And if it's spent on a creature spell, that creature enters with an additional +1 counter on it. Crypt of the Eternals. It's a colourless mana, but for 1 I can actually have it either blue, black or red to the mana pool, and when it enters I gain 1 life. Survivor's Encampment. Colourless again. I can tap an untapped creature if I require a specific colour, because I can add 1 mana of any colour to the mana pool. Detection Tower. 1 colourless again, but for 1, until the end of turn, your opponent and creatures your opponent control with hexproof can be targeted, or spells and abilities you control as though they didn't have hexproof. Ideal when one of my creatures come in, it can do damage. You can tap that for 1, and that way these hexproof creatures can be targeted. Sunscorched Desert. Gain 1. It does 1 damage to a target player, and it gives me 1 colourless mana. Another colourless mana is Unknown Shores, but for 1 I can make it any colour I want. Crumbling Visage. And when it enters the battlefield tapped again, it enters the battlefield I can add 1 mana of any colour to the mana pool, even though it enters tapped, but it's a colourless mana in general. These are all the dual lands. Well, sorry, not dual lands, you know what I mean. Cinder Barrens. It enters the battlefield tapped, and it's a red or black. Bloodfell Caves. I gain 1 life when it comes in, but it's red or black again. Blood Crypt. It enters, I may pay 2 life. If I don't, it enters tapped. So if I really require it, I can enter it and just lose the 2 life. It gives me red and black again. Rootbound Crag. It enters tapped unless I control a mountain or forest. I've only got 1 basic forest, I think, and I've got 4 basic lands, so I expect it to enter tapped. It gives me a red and a green. Razidu's Refuge. It's when it enters I gain 1 life, and it gives me a red or a green mana. Tranquil Cove. It gains me 1 life, and it gives me white or blue. Azurus Guildgate. It gives me a white or a blue again. Golgari Guildgate gives me a black or a green. All these manas enter tapped unless certain ones have got specific ones, but Scorched Barrens gives me a white or a black, and it gives me 1 life when it enters. Swiftwater Cliffs. It gain 1 life again, but it gives me blue or red. Stone Quarry. It's red or white, and that is it. It enters tapped. Sacred Foundry is red or white, and it can enter tapped unless I pay 2 life. Stomping Ground, same idea, it's red or green, and it can enter unless I pay 2 life. And that's my standard. I've only standard lands now. I've got 1 plains, 1 swamp, and 4 mountains. And that's my deck. Any advice on upgrading, making it better, faster? I'm quite happy to take any advice. This deck I've played a number of times When it works really well. But because it's such a slow deck, certain decks can just wipe it before it even gets a chance to actually go. If you like what you see, please comment, like, subscribe, share. Hoping to get some advice on this deck, because I want my Ur-Dragon deck to be the best I can get. So thank you very much for looking at PJ Maybe's YouTube channel for my Magic Commander decks. Any advice is always appreciated. Thanks again. Bye.